There's something about an ancient forest that calls to us, isn't there? The way the trees stand like silent sentinels, their branches heavy with secrets older than memory itself. Tonight, we step into one of the most mysterious and enchanting places in all of Middle-earth, the shadowed realm of Merckwood, a place where the air hums with forgotten magic, where every rustling leaf seems to whisper a warning or a promise. Whether you're curled up under blankets or listening beneath a sky full of stars, we'd love to know where you're joining us from tonight and what time your journey into rest begins. Let us know in the comments below, because stories like this are meant to be shared, and every listener adds to the magic. Picture this: a lone traveler, drawn by tales of Mirkwood's hidden wonders, steps beneath its towering canopy. The light here is strange, filtered through leaves so thick the sun barely touches the ground. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and something else, something almost alive. It's as if the forest itself is watching, waiting. This isn't just any woodland. Merckwood is a place of trials and triumphs, of elves who walk in twilight and shadows that cling like old friends. But it's also a place of danger, where paths twist and vanish, and the unwary can lose themselves forever. What makes Mirkwood so extraordinary isn't just its grandeur or its peril. It's the stories woven into its very roots. Tales of kings and wanderers, of battles fought in silence beneath the boughs, of magic so old it has no name. Tonight, we'll wander those paths together, uncovering the hidden history of this legendary forest. We'll meet the elves who call it home, hear the whispers of its ancient trees, and perhaps, just perhaps, catch a glimpse of the unseen forces that stir in its depths. So settle in, close your eyes, and let the story of Merckwood carry you away. The journey begins now. The traveler's fingers brush against the cool, weathered surface of the ancient stones, and the moment skin meets stone, the world shifts. Those faintly glowing runes pulse with a light that seems to breathe, pulling them into a vision so vivid it feels like memory. Tall trees, younger but no less majestic, stretch skyward as figures clad in silver and green step into the clearing. Elves of the First Age, their faces alight with curiosity and wonder. This is Merckwood as it once was, a realm of golden sunlight filtering through emerald leaves, where laughter echoed instead of whispers, but the vision darkens like storm clouds rolling in. Shadows deepen between the trees, and the elves' joyous voices falter. Something moves at the edge of sight, something that doesn't belong, a creeping malice, formless but hungry. The traveler gasps as the vision fractures, leaving them back in the present, heart pounding. The stones hum beneath their trembling hands, as if sharing a warning too urgent for words. Then, a sound, not the wind, not an animal, something parting the ferns with deliberate care. Every instinct screams to turn, to face whatever watches from the undergrowth. But the stones seem to whisper another choice. Step away, leave this place untouched. The decision hangs heavy in the air. To seek the source might unravel Mirkwood's oldest secrets, or awaken something best left sleeping. The air grows still as the underbrush parts, revealing a creature of impossible beauty, a stag so tall its antlers brush the lowest branches, each tine glowing with a soft silver light that pulses like a heartbeat. Its eyes hold the depth of centuries, watching the traveler with quiet intensity. Then comes the voice, neither whisper nor shout, but something in between, as if the forest itself has found words. You seek passage where few dare tread. It murmurs, the sound like leaves rustling in a distant storm. But Merckwood does not yield its secrets lightly. Prove your worth or turn back before the shadows claim you. The stag lowers its head, and between the points of its antlers, a single dewdrop forms suspended in midair. It reflects not the traveler's face, but scenes from Mirkwood's past. Elves singing beneath the stars, spiders spinning webs of darkness, a lone figure vanishing into the trees. The riddle comes swift and sharp as a blade. I am woven through every root and stone, older than the mountains, yet I vanish with the dawn. Kings have sought me, and fools have feared me. What am I? The traveler's breath catches. This is no simple game. The answer will unravel the forest's judgment of their heart. To speak hastily is to risk banishment, but hesitation might betray doubt. The stag waits, patient as the turning of seasons, while the weight of the choice settles like mist over the path ahead. The moment the traveler speaks the answer, memory, the glowing dewdrop shatters into 1,000 silver threads, weaving themselves into the air before forming a path that wasn't there before. The stag bows its head in silent approval and steps aside, its hooves making no sound on the moss as it vanishes between the trees. The newly revealed trail is narrow, barely more than a suggestion of footprints pressed into the earth, but it hums with an energy that prickles the skin. Every few steps, the forest seems to shift. A tree that wasn't there before, a stream suddenly crossing the path, only to dry up when blinked at. These are no ordinary illusions. They are tests, as old as the elves who carved them into the land, each one designed to peel back layers of intention. Do you seek knowledge or power? Adventure or refuge? The wrong choice leads in circles, the right one deeper into the heart of the wood. The air grows sweeter here, laced with the scent of blooming nifferdil, a flower said to grow only where elves once walked in joy. Ahead, the ruins rise, the graceful arches half swallowed by ivy, their carvings worn soft by time. This was once a place of music, where starlight pooled like water, and the very stones sang. Now it's a sanctuary of silence, but not an empty one. Faint echoes linger, the brush of robes against stone, a fragment of a melody caught in the wind. The traveler's breath stills as a shadow detaches itself from the pillars, not a threat, but a presence, a figure cloaked in twilight, its edges blurred as if not entirely of this world. You've come far, it murmurs, voiced like the creak of ancient boughs. But the deepest truths of Greenwood are not given, they're remembered. It extends a hand, and in its palm rests a single, perfect leaf, gold as the forest's lost sunlight. The choice is simple. Take it and see, or turn away and carry only questions. The leaf trembles as if alive, and the ruins seem to lean closer, waiting. The traveler's fingers trace the grooves of the oak's bark, and suddenly, the world dissolves into sound. Not a song sung by voices, but one woven from rustling leaves, creaking branches, and the slow pulse of roots deep beneath the earth. It begins bright and clear, a melody of sunlight dancing on forest pools, of elven children laughing as they chase fireflies through glades untouched by shadow. The trees remember. They sing of a time when every leaf trembled with joy, when the very air shimmered with magic so pure it could mend broken things with a touch. But the harmony fractures. A discordant note slithers into the song, thin as spider silk at first, then thick as choking vines. The Necromancer's name isn't spoken aloud, yet the trees shudder as they hum it, a sound like distant thunder, like the first crack in a frozen river. The melody twists, the once golden light in the music dimming to a sickly green. The traveler feels it all, the creeping dread as darkness took root. The elves retreat into guarded realms, the way the very paths seem to knot themselves against intruders. Yet beneath the sorrow, there's a thread of defiance. A single, stubborn note rings through, the oak's own voice refusing to fade, and then silence. The traveler jerks back, blinking as the present rushes in. But the song lingers in their bones, its sorrow now a shared burden. The oak's roots shift slightly, as if making room, and a single acorn drops into their palm, warm as a living thing. It's not just a gift, it's a question. Will you carry this memory into the dark? The traveler tucks it close, and somewhere deep in Merckwood's heart, the shadows seem to ripple, not in warning, but in recognition. The trees are listening. They have been all along. The shadows lengthen as dusk seeps through the branches, twisting familiar shapes into unsettling forms. What was once a tranquil glade now thrums with restless energy, the air thick with murmurs that slip between the trees like mist. They don't speak in words, not exactly, more in impressions, in half-formed thoughts that coil around the traveler's mind. Turn back, they seem to sigh. The deeper you go, the less of yourself you'll bring home. The words aren't spoken aloud, yet they settle like frost on the skin, seeping into cracks of doubt. Memories rise unbidden, stories told in hushed tones of those who wandered into Mirkwood's heart and returned hollow, their eyes full of secrets they couldn't name. The traveler's fingers tighten around the acorn, its warmth a fragile anchor. But even as the shadows press closer, another sound threads through the gloom, the distant chime of silver bells, so faint it might be imagination. Yet it calls to mind the Elven lore, shared earlier, how the oldest trees sometimes sing to guide the lost, their voices woven into the wind. The choice crystallizes like ice. To listen to the whispers is to let the forest shape you, but to step forward, to trust in the light of stories and the memory of songs, is to shape the forest in return. The traveler takes a breath, and with it, the whispers falter. Shadows recoil where their feet touch the moss, as if the very ground remembers the tread of those who walked here unafraid. One step, then another. The path ahead is darker now, but the acorn pulses like a tiny star in their palm, and somewhere ahead, the bells chime again, clearer this time, and waiting. Moonlight spills into the clearing like liquid silver, pooling around the edges of a glade, untouched by time. Here, the air shimmers with something more than mist, it thrums with echoes, with the imprint of moments that refuse to fade. Figures woven from starlight and shadow move in silent procession, their forms flickering between solid and smoke as they reenact scenes from a history too vivid to be forgotten. A company of elves stands back to back, blades raised against a tide of creeping darkness. A hooded figure slips a scroll into the hands of a dwarf beneath the gnarled roots of an elder tree. Each vision is a thread in Mirkwood's grand tapestry, playing out in loops as if the land itself is desperate to remember. Then, one specter turns. A lone elf, his armor cracked and tarnished, eyes burning with a light that hasn't dimmed, even in death. His gaze locks onto the traveler, and the glade falls utterly still. You hear the song of the trees. He murmurs, his voice like wind through hollow reeds. You carry the weight of their memories. That means you can do what we could not. He stretches out a translucent hand, and in its palm floats a shard of obsidian, pulsing with a slow, sickly rhythm. This curse is why the shadows cling, why the spiders grow fat, and the paths twist in on themselves. It was not meant to last forever, only until someone strong enough to break it dared to try. The weight of his words settles like stone in the traveler's chest. This is no mere vision, it's a plea, one that's waited centuries for an answer. Around them, the ghostly elves pause mid-motion, their hollow eyes turning in unison. Waiting, the curse thrums in time with the traveler's own heartbeat, a sinister mimicry that makes the very ground seem to breathe. To refuse would mean stepping back into the forest unchanged, leaving Merckwood to its slow decay. But to accept, that path winds into the unknown, where the Necromancer's old magic still lingers, hungry and watchful. The elf's form begins to fray at the edges, his voice growing fainter. The glade will not show you this twice, he warns. Choose now, wanderer. Will you carry our hope, or will you let it fade with us? The obsidian shard glints, offering no answers, only a choice, and the crushing certainty that either way, the forest will remember. The bridge sways ever so slightly underfoot, its ancient stones groaning like old bones. Below, the chasm yawns wide, filled not with darkness, but with swirling mist that pulses faintly, as if something vast breathes beneath it. Each step sends a pebble, skittering into the void, no sound of it landing ever comes. The traveler's knuckles whiten around the acorn, its warmth a quiet counterpoint to the chill creeping up their spine. To cross feels like stepping into a story already written, one where every choice has teeth. Legends whisper of those who turn back at this very spot, only to find the path behind them gone, swallowed by the forest's shifting will. Yet the scent of night flowers grows stronger, sweet and heady, weaving through the air like an unspoken promise. Something waits on the other side, not just the curse's heart, but the reason it was allowed to take root in the first place. A sound cuts through the silence, a child's laughter, impossibly clear, though no child stands in sight. It echoes from the far side of the bridge, tugging at memory. The traveler knows this laugh, though they've never heard it before. It's the sound of Mirkwood's lost joy, of elves dancing under midsummer stars before the shadows came. The stones beneath their feet tremble in response, not with warning, but with something like recognition. The final step off the bridge lands softer than expected, moss cushioning their footfall, as if the forest itself has been holding its breath. Ahead, the trees part to reveal a circle of standing stones, their surfaces etched with runes that glow a sickly green. At the center, a pool of black water reflects nothing. Not the sky, not the traveler's face, only a depth that seems to stare back. The air here is thick, tasting of metal and old grief. Then the water stirs, ripples spread from no visible source, and the reflection that wasn't there a moment ago resolves into a figure not a stranger, but the traveler themselves, eyes hollow and hands stained with shadow. The image mouths words that reach the ears without sound. You were always the key. The acorn in their palm burns suddenly, not with pain, but with purpose, its shell splitting to reveal a single, radiant shoot. The curse thrums in the stones, in the water, in the very air, waiting to see what happens when a choice made in doubt meets a truth too long buried. The grove exhales as the traveler steps forward, its breath thick with the scent of rotting leaves and something sharper, fear, old and sour. The trees here don't just grow, they writhe, their trunks knotted like clenched fists, their branches scraping against each other with a sound like bones rattling. Moonlight doesn't touch the ground here. Instead, the air glows faintly with a sickly greenish hue, as if the very light has been poisoned. Shadows don't just linger. They coil, slithering around ankles and wrists like living vines, their touch icy enough to burn. A whisper slithers into the traveler's ear, no louder than a spider's legs skittering across stone. Turn back, it hisses. You don't belong here. But the words aren't just sound, they carry weight, pressing down on the chest like a stone. Each syllable pulls at memories better left buried, failures, losses, every moment of doubt ever felt. The darkness here doesn't attack, it invites. It offers the sweet, seductive lie that surrender is easier than resistance. But the acorn in the traveler's palm pulses, a tiny, insistent warmth. It hums with the song of the old oak, with the laughter of elves long gone, with the stubborn light of Merckwood's unbroken spirit. The shadows recoil slightly at its glow, hissing like steam on flame. This is the test not of strength, but of memory. To forget the forest's past is to let the darkness rewrite its future. The traveler closes their eyes and does the one thing the grove doesn't expect. They sing. Not a grand elven ballad, not a spell, but the first fragment of melody that comes to mind. A lullaby hummed under the stars. A tune learned from a ghostly vision. The notes are shaky at first, but with each breath, they grow stronger, and the grove listens. The clawing branches still, the whispering shadows falter. For the first time in centuries, something like silence, real silence, not the stifling void of the curse, settles over the twisted trees. Then, deep in the earth, something stirs. Not the necromancer's malice, but something older, roots shifting, uncoiling, as if waking from a long sleep. The ground beneath the traveler's feet warms, and for a fleeting instant, the grove remembers what it once was, a place of dappled sunlight and birdsong, where the air smelled of honey and thyme. The vision vanishes as quickly as it came, but the taste of it lingers, sweet as a promise. The shadows regroup, thicker now, angry. They surge forward, but the traveler stands firm, the acorn's light flaring bright as a star. You don't own this place, they murmur, not to the darkness, but to the trees themselves. And you don't own me, the grove shudders. A crack splits the air, not thunder, but the sound of something breaking. High above, a single twisted branch snaps, tumbling to the ground. Where it lands, the earth drinks it in, and for the first time, something green and tender pushes through the soil. The darkness isn't gone. It may never be gone entirely, but it's been challenged, and in Mirkwood, that's enough to change everything. The glow is so faint at first, the traveler mistakes it for fireflies, a delicate shimmer hanging in the air like a breath held too long. Then the shape resolves, an elven lantern, its crystal panes frosted with age, yet the light within burns steady as a heartbeat. Not the sickly green of the curse, but gold, warm as summer honey. Hesitant fingers reach out, and the moment skin meets glass, the world dissolves. Visions surge, not the fragmented echoes of the stones, but a flood of pure, unfiltered memory. Merckwood as it could be, sunlight spills through the canopy in great liquid shafts, setting the leaves ablaze with color. The trees stand taller, their bark smooth and strong, roots humming with quiet power. Elves move among them, not as wary sentinels but as caretakers, their hands coaxing blossoms from branches that have been barren for centuries. Laughter rings where only whispers have lived. The very air thrums with a music so deep it's less a sound than a feeling, vibrating in the bones. Then, the light flickers, the vision wavers like a reflection in troubled water. Shadows press in from the edges, not the natural dark of twilight, but the grasping tendrils of the curse, twisting and knotting around the fragile glow. The lantern's light dims, and with it, the hopeful future blurs, threatening to shatter like glass. The traveler's hands tighten around the lantern instinctively. This isn't just a relic, it's a spark, a promise, and the forest has been waiting, starving for it. But the shadows know it too. From the gloom, shapes detach themselves. Not spiders, not specters, but something worse. Manifestations of doubt, their forms shifting to mirror the traveler's own deepest fears. Failure, abandonment, the terrible, gnawing question, what if I'm not enough? The lantern's warmth falters under the onslaught, its light guttering like a candle in a storm. The traveler's breath comes fast, their pulse a frantic drum. This is the test, not of strength or cleverness, but of belief. To shield the light, they must first believe in it, not as a weapon, but as a truth. Closing their eyes, the traveler does the only thing left. They remember, not just the grand visions, but the small moments. The oak's song, the stag's riddle, the ghostly elf's plea. Each one a thread in a tapestry they didn't realize they were weaving. The lantern's glow steadies, then flares, bright as a forge's heart. The shadows recoil with a shriek that shakes the leaves. But the battle isn't won. The light is alive now, pulsing in time with the traveler's own resolve, but it's also a beacon. Somewhere in the depths, something old and hungry turns its gaze toward the glow. The next step won't be into shadow, it'll be into the jaws of the curse itself. The lantern's light licks across the traveler's face, etching their determination into the dark. They take a breath and step forward. The forest holds its breath with them. A hush falls over the grove, so complete it feels like the forest itself is holding its breath. Then the voice comes not from any single direction, but from everywhere at once, resonating through bark and bone alike. You have walked my paths, it murmurs, each word weighted with centuries. You have carried my memories, now tell me this, what force can turn shadow into light, yet vanishes the moment it is named? The traveler's first instinct is to reach for cleverness, to sift through elven lore for some arcane answer. But the weight of the acorn in their palm, the warmth of the lantern at their side, quiets that impulse. This isn't a test of what they've learned. It's a question about who they've become. Glimpses flash behind their eyes, the stag's patient gaze, the ghostly elf's outstretched hand, the way the oak's song had trembled with hope beneath its sorrow. The answer rises unbidden, shaped not by thought, but by the certainty of a heart that has listened. Trust, they say softly. The moment the word leaves their lips, the grove trembles. Not in anger, but in recognition, as if waking from a long dream. Above, the knotted branches groan and twist, not to attack, but to unravel, their contorted forms stretching toward the sky like prisoners, freed from chains. Where the traveler stands, a single shaft of moonlight, pierces the canopy, striking the forest floor with such intensity, it seems to burn away the darkness. The shadows don't just retreat, they dissolve, their edges fraying into nothingness as the very air brightens around them. From the soil, shoots of green unfurl, delicate as spun glass, their leaves trembling as they taste the air for the first time in ages. The voice speaks once more, quieter now, almost tender. You have remembered what we forgot, it sighs, that a forest is not made of trees alone, but of every hand that tends it, every footstep that honors its paths. The light spreads, not in a wave, but in a slow, sure seep, like water, finding its way through cracks in stone. It touches the twisted trunks, and where it lingers, the bark smooths, the knots loosen. Somewhere deep in Merckwood's heart, a spider's web crumbles to dust without a sound, but the traveler isn't watching. Their gaze is fixed on their own hands, where the acorn has split open at last, its roots threading gently through their fingers, not binding, but blessing. The lantern's glow flares one final time, then dims to a contented pulse, its work done. The forest won't heal in a day, or a year, or perhaps even a century. Yet the balance has shifted, the choice has been made, and Mirkwood, at last, remembers how to hope. The ground shudders beneath the traveler's feet, not with violence, but with relief. It's like a great sigh after centuries of held breath. The obsidian shard, once pulsing with malice, cracks apart midair, dissolving into motes of dust that catch the moonlight like glittering snow. Where they land, the earth stirs. Roots uncoil from their gnarled knots, stretching toward the sky, as if greeting the stars for the first time in an age. The trees, oh, the trees, their bark smooths, the deep grooves of suffering softening into patterns that ripple like water. Leaves unfurl in shades forgotten, emerald, gold, even the faintest blush of silver at the edges, as if dipped in starlight. A breeze sweeps through the grove, but it carries no whispers now, only the scent of rain-washed petals and sun-warmed sap. The air itself seems to brighten, the lingering greenish haze scattering like mist before dawn. High above, the canopy parts, and for the first time in living memory, moonlight spills unimpeded to the forest floor, painting the moss in liquid silver. The traveler sinks to their knees, not from exhaustion but wonder, their fingers brushing the newly softened earth. It thrums beneath their touch, alive in a way that goes beyond mere growth. This is Mirkwood remembering itself. From the shadows between the trees, figures emerge, not specters, but elves, their faces alight with something between awe and disbelief. They step lightly, as if afraid the ground might vanish beneath them, their eyes reflecting the dappled light like forest pools. One, an elder with hair like woven birch bark, reaches out to touch a flowering vine, curling around a once blighted oak. When she speaks, her voice is the sound of wind through young leaves. You've done what even the mightiest of us could not, she murmurs, not with sword or spell, but with remembrance. The traveler opens their palm, where the acorn's roots still cling, now threaded with veins of that same radiant silver. It's no longer just a seed. It's a covenant, a living piece of the forest's reborn heart. The elder elf smiles, and in that moment, the traveler understands. This isn't an ending, it's a first step. Mirkwood's scars won't vanish overnight, nor will its shadows disappear entirely. But the balance has shifted. Where there was rot, there's rebirth. Where there was silence, there's the first hesitant note of a song, not sung in centuries. And then, Laughter, real, unburdened laughter, ringing from the trees as elven children dart between the trunks, their feet barely touching the ground. They weave around the traveler, their hands trailing sparks of harmless light, their joy as bright and unstoppable as dawn. One pauses, pressing a tiny wooden flute into the traveler's hands before darting away. The instrument is warm, vibrating faintly, as if the tree it came from still hums within it. The elder elf leans close, her breath fragrant with crushed pine needles. "Stay a while," she offers. "The forest owes you its stories, and stories, once woken, are meant to be shared." Around them, the leaves rustle in agreement, and somewhere deep in the woods, a nightingale begins to sing. The air shimmers where the stag steps forward, its once silver antlers now wreathed in threads of gold, each point dripping light like honey from a comb. No longer a creature of riddles and trials, it moves with the quiet certainty of a river finding its course. When it bows, the gesture is deeper than before, not submission, but acknowledgement. "You carried what we could not," it murmurs, voice rich as fertile soil. Not just memory, but the courage to plant it where shadows grew thickest. Between its antlers, an acorn forms, not from dew this time, but from the very air, its shell etched with markings that mirror the oldest runes in the forest. The traveler reaches out, and the moment their fingers close around it, the grove exhales. Roots shift beneath their feet, not in warning, but in kinship. This is no ordinary seed. It's a fragment of the heart tree, the first oak whispered into being when the world was young. To hold it is to feel the weight of a promise, that endings are only beginnings wearing different skins. But the stag isn't finished. With a flick of its luminous tail, it parts the undergrowth, revealing a path not marked on any map, one woven from sunlight and spider silk, leading not deeper into Merckwood, but out. The message is clear. The forest's healing has begun, but the traveler's part in this tale is done. Yet as they turn to go, something tugs at their ribs, sharper than sorrow. They glance down, where the acorn rests against their palm. Tiny roots have already twined around their wrist, delicate as a bracelet, not binding them, but braiding their story into the forests forever. The stag watches, silent. No more tests, no more words, only the wind threading through the trees, carrying the scent of blossoms that haven't bloomed in centuries. Somewhere ahead, the path glimmers, waiting. Behind, the first true bird song of the new age rises, bright and unafraid. The traveler takes a step, then another. They don't look back. They don't need to. The forest song walks with them now, humming just beneath their skin. The path back through Mirkwood feels less like a journey and more like a dream, one where every step lifts the weight of centuries from the traveler's shoulders. Where once gnarled roots threatened to trip them, now tender shoots brush against their ankles like curious fingers. The air hums differently too, no longer thick with warnings, but thrumming with a melody just beyond hearing, as if the trees are singing under their breath. Even the light has changed. Shafts of gold pierce the canopy, where before only gloom pooled, painting the moss in dappled patterns that shift with the wind. Familiar landmarks pass. The half-buried statue of an Elven king, its mossy crown now studded with tiny blue flowers. The twisted oak, where spiders once spun their webs, its branches now heavy with ripe, golden fruit. Each one feels like meeting an old friend after years apart, their true faces finally visible beneath the grime of time. The stream they'd crossed days ago, once choked with blackened reeds, now runs clear over smooth stones, its song bright enough to make the traveler pause and kneel. Cupping the water, they half expect a vision, but this time there's only their own reflection changed, yes, but undeniably theirs. The face looking back is softer somehow, the eyes holding a depth that wasn't there before. Yet as the forest's edge draws near, a quiet ache takes root beneath the traveler's ribs. It's not the sharp pain of parting, but something slower, sweeter, the kind of longing that comes from leaving a place that's become part of you. The acorn's roots still curl around their wrist, warm as living thread, a reminder that bonds forged in magic don't unravel with distance. They turn for one last look, and the trees seem to lean toward them in answer, their leaves whispering not farewell, but until. And then, a gift, nestled in the hollow of an ancient birch, just where the path meets the wider world, rests a small wooden box. Its carvings are worn smooth by time, but the clasp yields easily to curious fingers. Inside, wrapped in velvet the color of twilight, lies a single silver leaf, not a trinket, but an invitation. The traveler breathes in the scent of rain and old parchment that rises from it, and suddenly understands this isn't an ending. It's a promise waiting to unfold. Somewhere ahead, the road stretches into unknown lands, but behind them, Merckwood keeps watch, its heart beating in time with their own. The first birds of morning call as they step beyond the tree line, the dawn painting the sky in hues of peach and lavender. The forest's song fades, but doesn't vanish. It lingers in their steps, in the way the grass springs up greener where they walk, in the faint, impossible scent of night-blooming flowers that follows them into the waking world. Home lies ahead, but so does return, and the traveler smiles, because they know now that some stories don't have endings, only pauses, and the quiet thrill of pages yet to turn. The sunlight feels different on their skin, now warmer, richer, as if the very air has been steeped in honey. The traveler pauses at the forest's edge, one hand resting on the rough bark of the last great oak, its leaves whispering a quiet farewell against their fingertips. Behind them, Mirkwood stretches vast and verdant, its canopy dappled with gold where the dawn kisses the treetops. No longer a place of creeping shadows, but a realm humming with renewed life, its song carried on the breeze like a lullaby half remembered. The road ahead unfurls across rolling hills, dotted with wildflowers that sway as if greeting an old friend. Yet the world beyond the trees isn't quite as they left it, or perhaps it's the traveler who's changed. Colors seem brighter, sounds sharper, as if their time among the elves and ancient oaks has tuned their senses to a frequency most never hear. The weight of the acorn's roots around their wrist is a constant reminder. They walk now with one foot in the mortal world, and the other still tracing the hidden paths of the forest. A farmer pauses in his field, squinting at the figure emerging from the woods, a place no sensible person ventures. But there's no fear in his eyes, only curiosity. Something in the traveler's bearing, in the way the sunlight clings to them like gossamer, makes him raise a hand in tentative greeting. The traveler returns the gesture, and for a fleeting moment, the man swears he smells pine needles and starlight. Villages they pass seem smaller now, their worries lighter, as if the shadow of Mirkwood's curse had stretched farther than anyone realized. Children dart through the lanes, their laughter ringing like silver bells, while elders nod knowingly at the stranger with leaves caught in their hair. No one asks where they've been, yet somehow everyone seems to understand. At the inn, The fire burns brighter when they enter, and the bread tastes sweeter on their tongue, as if the simple act of sharing a meal has become its own kind of magic. Night falls, and the traveler climbs to a hilltop overlooking the sleeping town. From their pocket, they draw the silver leaf, its edges gleaming faintly in the moonlight. It pulses once, twice, then rises on an unfelt wind, spinning lazily before coming to rest against their chest. Not a trinket, but a compass, one that doesn't point north, but toward stories waiting to be lived, toward hearts heavy with forgotten hope, toward the next corner of the world in need of remembrance. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howls, not in warning, but in kinship. The traveler smiles, tucking the leaf away, and turns their face to the stars. The road stretches endless before them, but for the first time, it doesn't feel like wandering. It feels like coming home, to a home that moves with them, rooted not in place, but in the quiet, unshakable truth that some bonds can't be broken, only carried. The soil yields easily beneath the traveler's fingers, soft as well-worn parchment, as they press the acorn into the earth. A whisper leaves their lips, no grand incantation, just words shaped by gratitude and hope, syllables that sink into the ground like rain. For a heartbeat, nothing stirs, then the earth shivers, a ripple spreading outward like the first note of a song, waiting to be sung. Tiny roots unfurl from the acorn with impossible speed, threading through the soil with the certainty of rivers finding the sea. The sapling that rises is no ordinary tree. Its bark gleams faintly silver where the moonlight touches, its leaves unfurling in hues of green, so vivid they seem lit from within. Around the glade, the forest holds its breath. Ancient oaks lean closer, their branches creaking softly, while younger trees sway as if dancing to a melody only they can hear. The wind carries more than just the scent of damp earth now. It hums with fragments of the past, whispers of elven lullabies, the rustle of long-ago footsteps, the echo of laughter from a time when shadows were mere decoration, not dwellers. But beneath those memories hums something new, a thread of golden light woven into the air, thin but unbreakable, thrumming with the steady rhythm of a heartbeat rediscovered. The traveler steps back, their palms tingling where the roots had brushed their skin. This isn't just a tree they've planted. It's a covenant, a living bridge between what Merckwood was and what it might yet become. High above, a nightingale alights on the sapling's highest branch, its song piercing the stillness like a needle threading light through cloth. The notes shimmer in the air, and for an instant, the glade flickers with ghostly figures, elves in robes of twilight, children with flowers woven into their hair, even a great stag watching from the trees. Not visions of the past this time, but possibilities. A cool breeze curls around the traveler's shoulders, carrying a voice too soft for words, yet the meaning settles into their bones all the same. Go now. Your roots are here, but your branches stretch beyond. The sapling's leaves tremble in agreement, casting dappled shadows that shift and sway, tracing patterns that look almost like runes, almost like roads. Somewhere deep in the forest, a spider's web collapses silently into dust. Somewhere else, a stream long choked with debris clears its throat and begins to sing. The traveler turns, their footsteps lighter than they've ever been, the weight of the forest's gratitude a warmth against their ribs. They don't glance back, not because they're leaving, but because they know, with quiet certainty, that the glade will be there whenever they return. changed perhaps, taller, fuller, but waiting, always waiting, its roots tangled now with their own. The path ahead unwinds like a ribbon tossed by the wind, leading not away, but forward, into a world where stories don't end, they branch. And Merckwood's branches, at last, are reaching for the sun. Years have woven themselves into the bark of the great oak, its branches now broad enough to shelter a small gathering beneath their dappled shade. The traveler, no longer just a wanderer, but a keeper of tales, settles against its trunk, fingers brushing over roots that rise from the earth like the knuckles of an old friend. Around them, listeners lean in, their faces upturned, eyes reflecting the flicker of fireflies drifting between the leaves. The air hums with more than just the evening's warmth. It carries the faintest echo of elven harps, the whisper of long-ago footsteps, the scent of blossoms that bloomed when the world was younger. The forest remembers, the storyteller begins, their voice softer than the rustle of the oak's leaves, yet somehow reaching every ear. Not as we do, not in words or pictures, but in the language of roots and rivers. In the way a sapling knows to turn toward the sun, or a spider recalls the shape of its web, the children seated closest shiver, not from fear, but from the thrill of standing at the edge of something vast and ancient. One reaches out to touch the oak's bark, gasping as a silver-veined leaf drifts down into their palm, its edges glowing faintly before fading to ordinary green. Above, the branches stir without wind, their movements forming patterns against the twilight sky, not quite words, not quite images, but something in between. An elder from the village, her face lined with years of harvests and hardships, nods slowly. "I've seen that tree since I was a girl," she murmurs, "but tonight it feels." She trails off, unable to name the change. The storyteller smiles, because some truths are too bright to hold in ordinary language. As the tale unfolds, the stag's riddle, the lantern's fragile light, the moment the curse shattered like ice in spring, the oak's roots pulse gently beneath the earth, as if keeping time. The story isn't just being told, it's being remembered by the forest and the listeners alike. A teenager with ink-stained fingers, who'd scoffed at childish fables earlier that day, finds their skepticism crumbling like old mortar. They glance down, startled to see ivy curling around their bootlace, its leaves tender as new parchment. Then comes the part where the traveler planted the acorn. The storyteller pauses, pressing their palm flat to the earth. For a heartbeat, silence, then a ripple, subtle as a shiver, passing from root to root, tree to tree, until the whole grove thrums with a quiet, golden resonance. The oak's leaves shimmer, casting light like scattered coins over the gathered faces. No one speaks. No one needs to. The proof is in the air, in the soil, in the way the shadows no longer cling but dance at the edges of the firelight. Later, when the last embers have dimmed and the villagers have wandered home, some humming, some silent, all carrying a piece of the story like a pebble in their pocket, the storyteller remains. The oak's lowest branch dips, brushing their shoulder, and for a moment, the years fall away. They're that wanderer again, standing at the forest's edge with an acorn burning a promise into their palm. But now, when they close their eyes, they don't see just memories. They see the threads stretching forward, the teenager planting a sapling at the village's edge, the elder sharing the tale with her great-grandchildren, the way the wind will carry fragments of this night's magic for generations. A single leaf detaches, spiraling down to land in their open hand. It's warm, vibrating faintly with a melody only they can hear. Not an ending, but a beckoning. Somewhere beyond the grove, beyond the known roads, another forest waits with its own shadows, its own songs. The storyteller tucks the leaf into their cloak and rises, their steps light. The oak's roots sigh beneath them, not in sorrow, but in understanding. Stories, like trees, must grow where they're planted, and this one's branches have only just begun to reach. The fire crackles low as the storyteller's voice fades, leaving the listeners wrapped in the warmth of Mirkwood's enduring legacy. The forest, once shadowed, now stands as a beacon of hope, its history alive in those who dare to listen. And as the stars twinkle above, the whispers of the trees promise that more tales and more adventures await those who seek them. Around the dying embers, the air hums with something deeper than silence, a quiet understanding, passed like a shared secret between the gathered listeners. One by one, they rise, brushing oak leaves from their cloaks, each carrying a fragment of the story tucked into their thoughts like a pressed flower. A child pockets a silver-veined acorn that had rolled near their foot, its shell still warm from the firelight. An elder traces the lines on their palm, as if reading anew the paths they've walked and those still waiting. Merckwood's magic doesn't end with the last word of the tale. It lingers in the way the wind carries the scent of pine through the village long after midnight, in the dreams of restless souls who wake with the taste of starlight on their tongues, in the saplings that now sprout along once barren roads, their roots humming with borrowed memory. The forest's rebirth isn't just its own. It's a ripple touching lives far beyond its borders. High above, the branches of the great oak sway, though no breeze stirs. Its leaves catch the starlight, casting shifting patterns on the ground, runes of gratitude, of farewell, of invitation. The storyteller watches them fade as the fire dims, knowing this isn't truly an ending. Somewhere beyond the hill, another traveler pauses at the edge of a different wood, drawn by the faintest echo of a song they've never heard but somehow recognized. Somewhere else, a spider's abandoned web crumbles to dust, making room for new growth. The last ember flickers out, but the darkness feels softer now, cradled by the certainty that dawn will come, not just to the sky, but to all the shadowed places waiting for their own stories to unfold. And as the listeners disperse into the night, they carry with them a quiet truth. Every ending is a seed. Plant it with courage, tend it with hope, and one day, it might just grow into a legend.